Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro gave his annual budget address today, announcing a plan to spend $51.4 billion from rural health care to public transit. Shapiro bringing a mix of new and old ideas.
And our Pennsylvania State Capitol correspondent, Kara Jeffers, live to talk through some of the biggest talking points that were brought up today and also the most controversial ones. Kara?
Good evening, Nick and Renata. Governor Josh Shapiro addressed the entire General Assembly today, both the Senate and the House, really lining out how he wants to spend the state's money for this legislative and budget session. This is his third budget address. He's kind of going into the second half of his four-year term. There's re-elections coming in 2026. A potential presidential run in 2028. So what he's saying and doing now is really finishing out his record that he's going to be running on in the future. The proposal he brought today really increased spending on things like education, workforce development, and healthcare. There were some policy changes around, again, housing and rural healthcare specifically that was talked about today. The proposal, like years before, wants to get revenue from legalizing adult use cannabis and regulating skill games. That's something that Senate Republicans say Shapiro needs to lead more on. House Democrats say that there's enough people in both chambers who want these things to happen that they should be able to happen this year. Shapiro's $51.4 billion proposal spends $4.4 billion more than what the state collects in revenue. He's going to use the state's $10.4 billion in savings to cover that difference. Republicans say that that is irresponsible. They're also frustrated with the governor's energy policy, saying that continued efforts to introduce a carbon cap tax in the state are deterring economic growth.
There are ways to generate revenue in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and it really is primarily around the energy space. And I think it was interesting that the governor didn't even start to talk about energy till about an hour into his address. That is one of the key things that we have to focus on moving forward.
Democrat lawmakers obviously applauding the governor's proposal that he gave out today, saying that not only will the new revenue streams from cannabis and regulating skill games help bolster some of the financial structural deficit that could be coming, they also say that things like business tax reform that is also on the table will help spur economic growth. Going ahead, we'll have appropriations hearings starting in a couple of weeks. And this is really the third year now also with a divided legislature. The leaders are the same, but they now have a little bit more of a rapport to work with as we're heading now to the budget deadline of July 1st. In Harrisburg, I'm Kara Jeffers, WENY News.